So somehow, at some point, I got carried away from the original goal. I think original idea that, okay, we're gonna vibe for a bit. Pardon, it's not a cool thing to say. I would go by feel from what I know and try to do a bit of my own way versus Zig way, and then try to learn, take a step back, and try to do stuff more thematically, more differently. Just try to think differently and learn new ways of things. And I got carried away, just thinking about the domain things as usual, just thinking about types and making function looks nice, and forgot about the other thing. And so the last week I was taking a step back, talking to some people, asking for some help, getting some reviews, thinking about stuff, kind of realizing that the thing is not too bad. I had some concern with memory and ownership. For example, some things like, so we have an arena, right? An idea with arena, you just allocate it once and then you throw stuff around and then at the end it just gets cleaned up once. But in all of the interfaces, we have generic allocator. And in some cases we clean up, in some cases we don't. I think in this case it doesn't matter, but maybe in some cases like this, like we don't clean up the table, but it should be cleaned up if it's generic allocator. Because we're telling them, we're telling the caller, but I'm the only caller, it doesn't matter. But in general, we're telling that it would work with anything, but we only behave in a way that it would only work with arena, otherwise you would leak memory, which is not great, which is fine in a case like this. But if you learn this way, that you just stick to this way, it's not fine. Like it's fine, but it's not fine. So I was trying to think at the proper way of doing things, and some people say that it's also fine-ish to do this way. Even if you use arena, but you can say like, oh, this is actually an arena, and then because if somebody else implements a different arena, not the default one, the one that's I think we've been using arena allocator, and I think you need the pointer. It's fine, but this way it's specific, right? Like we telling the caller that they cannot pass not arena, but if they have their own implementation, not from the standard library, that they cannot pass it. So it's not illegal to do this, but then at least you want to comment and then you can say that it's going to take something else. Some people do stuff in between as well. Like can say that this is going to defer and clean up. And then if you pass it in arena, it's going to still be fine because the cleanup is an op. I think we've done it, already talked about this before. And then technically it's fine as well. So I think I'm somewhere in between right now where I assume things, but then I don't rely on things and don't allow this, allow that. I think I'll just hardcode it to this for now. Sorry, I deleted too much. To be explicit, because I'm not going to implement other things. And I do prefer to have things explicit, and maybe later we can change and we can play with other things. I think for learning purposes is fine. But for example, in Scala, there is a case where you can say, oh, my function takes a list, right? And then you do something with it. And you can say, oh, give me, I don't know, just a list of users, and then you return some subset like second and third user. You can say that it takes a generic sequence. I think I haven't used it in a while, I forgot. But it's not cool to do. It's especially if you use FP, it's the instances are not even going to be available because you have at least like two instances. Like you have a simple case, you have a list and array, and they have different. I mean, they have like the basic interface is the same, right? You can say, oh, just give me first element or traverse through all of these things, and it's fine. You can use this, but actually, most of the time, you do want and you do need to know: is your access going to be constant? Is it you have to do linear traversals? Do you have like random access and stuff like this? So it's really discouraged. And yeah, we all coming up with OP background where you always want to have some generic stuff, but that's not the case where you want to be generic. And I didn't get the strong opinion and strong convention on when to be explicit or not explicit here. So I think I still don't have a preference. I still don't have a feeling. So I'll just be probably specific here, and everything else we will go as we go. So this is this. Also, on the ownership side, we have a mix of things, and I think we'll have to clean it up. And we got into a couple of issues where we had an issue with a column, right? We said that we get the string out of this chunk of bytes, and we had a bug where we were not sure if this is owned by this column. or not? Like, who owns that chunk of byte? Who's gonna clean it up? What's the lifetime there? And I think with copy, it's the my regular way. You copy it and that's it. It doesn't matter. You have two copies, worst case, but it's gonna work. I think in this case, if you run it without this, if you run it like this now, it still works. I think I was playing with this before. I think we need this part, right? This is gonna work now because at some point we refactored how we look at the page. Before we used to iterate through the page with the writer, and then we also refactor and switch to the page. And because we usually look at pages at a time, we look at column at a time, and then after that we copy the columns for something else, or we just we keep a pages. I think we keep 2 pages, so we never clean them up. So we always have this data anyway, so we can point to this and not copy. But we'll deal with this later. We'll deal with this later because I'll want to play around and do 1 page at a time. So I think this is not needed. But the point I was trying to say is that we were dancing around ownership and dancing around who owns what and dancing around like, is it a view, like column, is it a view into the something, or is it actually parsing and owning the thing? One advice I got is that it's also good to separate things, like you separate the logic from allocating and stuff. We can try that. Another approaches I've been taught and talked about is that you could be explicit about, like you can take allocator here and have it also here and make sure that it's one of the signal saying what are you owning, like how the ownership might work. You might be also saying something like this. You can also, as you can see, we have it here. The other signal is having the init as well, having not having it, so we don't have it in this case. So it's kind of signals like, oh, we're not cleaning anything up. That means that we don't own anything. And in a case like this, we had something in between as well, right? Because we started owning things, we started copying in here, then it's a clear signal like, look, we have this. It means you as a caller will have to call this. Still, I don't have a clear view as to what's better, what's not, so we'll try multiple ones to see. So I'm just trying to explain that we're gonna play more and try different techniques to different things. And I think this is the main thing. The other thing that we were thinking is we'll do with arena. Arena, I'm not even sure. I think it might work like this, but we go from the top. There's already quite a few things that turns out we can fix and adjust and make better. So for example, this, we don't need this because the init already has an arena, as we can see here. So we didn't have to create it. We can just say this and we can pass this. We can reuse this allocator instead of creating a new one, clean it up. We already have one supplied by init process. This is one. I think this can be like this as well. We can also be a bit more explicit, but whatever. For now, it doesn't really matter. What matters and what's interesting in here as well is that we can clean this up as well. Remember we talked about the methods before, and this takes an args, and this is already an args. So instead of doing this, we can do it like this. Just to have things cleaner. And this is cleaned up at the end when the init's cleaned up, so we don't need to clean it up. The other interesting thing is, I'll come back to this later. But this can be cleaned up. This one already has take int, which takes u16 as we did, and it knows all of this part, and we don't need this. We have a couple of those, but just from my memory, I remember this one could be cleaned up to make nicer. The other thing is this. Which order do we want to approach things? This could be addressed with array map. So right now we have a map, and then our map shuffles the elements because implementation of hash map. But we didn't want this because we wanted an ordering that turned out at some point at the end of the exercise. So if we want to bring it back, we try to re-implement and get the iterator and do all of these things. But if we use a proper data structure for this, we will not have to do this. So we'll have to do this later. I think that makes sense to do now before we went too far. And the last thing I want to finish in main is that, as you can see here in the reader, we have a buffer. So we don't read stuff like one byte at a time. We don't read it just the whole thing. We read it using buffer. And I think was a standard error and for the standard out for both writers, it's quite idiomatic and encouraged right now to have a buffer as well. We didn't need it. We didn't. I mean, we didn't pass anything, so we were passing just nothing. So it didn't really. It wasn't really. I don't know. That's kind of the thing. Like, we care about that much performance putting one string in, but at some point we're gonna put multiple columns and multiple things, and instead of putting one line at a time, we'll have to put them in batches. I think it's better to do it now before I forgot than try to do it later. The other thing that now, that's one thing that we'll have to do now before we forget, is now, I'm not sure it's gonna compile this way. Let's see, but we'll have to flush the writer. We have to flush both, because if we finish with our app, we've done a couple of buffers, like it printed a buffer once, twice, and then if there's some stuff left, it might not do it, so we'll have to flush it. And I think it's, I don't know, I think at least in Haskell it was a normal thing to do, so there's nothing to. And if we test and compile, I'm not sure it's gonna work. Okay. Wait, it's not. That's what I wanted. Want it to be explicit. Explicit. Wait, was I? Oh, if I was talking about that and I was calling it allocator, not arena, that's kind of awkward. I think everywhere else we can pass it like this. It's not gonna work. This here. Yeah, okay, so now where we pass in this, it wants. Let's just change it all. Let's just change it all and hope it doesn't blow up in our face. We start from here. And here's another interesting thing. This might work fine for now, but we might need to revisit this. What I learned, turns out that ArrayList and arenas are not best friends. So because we have stuff that comes into arena like this, just randomly stuff one after another, you just add stuff to the arena as you allocate them. And if you have ArrayList, you allocate them like this. But the thing with ArrayList, they have capacity, and sometimes you start with, I don't know, eight elements, and then at some point you edit your 8 elements, imagine it, and then you add something else, and then you want to add element number 9. And when you add this element number 9, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit because the you cannot just put it here. You cannot put it in here where elements were after 8 because the memory is not magic like this. So you have stuff already taking place. So what Arena does, it copies this. Let's pretend it like this, and then it adds number 9, and then it does some stuff like this. And you can prevent this if you init a bit like this with some capacity, and then you're gonna have some space, and there is some, and in this case it's fine because it's gonna fill stuff up. However, we might be fine because we're doing one thing at a time, but we'll have to watch out for this. Because, for example, here we also do this, and if we parse, and we, in a column, when we parse, actually, we put stuff into the arena, remember this thing? So this probably gonna be wasting memory. So we add one element. In this arena, we're gonna have the case where we mix the stuff that we put in the list with the stuff that we put just the columns. And so it's probably not gonna look nice, and we're just gonna copy these elements over and over. In this case, we're parsing record, and it's just 5 elements, so it's not that bad. We're probably just gonna feed in into one capacity, but it's pretty bad. I think for now I'm not gonna touch this because we'll refactor. I wanna get rid of all the parsing and make them maybe different, but just being explicit, knowing that this is a waste and it's not really cool. I'm just trying to walk around and be explicit. And then one thing that this might break is tests. Is because might be it, but might not be it. This appends and appends take again. So another interesting thing that we were also talking about and I discovered is that, as you can see here with array list, it's taking like init doesn't take anything, but then each append, each operation takes an allocator. And as you can see, it's those things are deprecated, but we can see that there is a difference between managed and unmanaged collections. We already saw the other way around. It's either you pass it, either each operation takes an allocator, and then you have to remember, but also not remember, but you are explicit and you see yourself that if this is in append, I'm using allocator, I have to be cleaning up with the same allocator as well. We're not cleaning up here as well, so it doesn't really matter. And it's easy to just shove stuff in once in the init in our case and don't care because it's all going to be, oh wait, we do the init, so it's fine. But we know that this one and this one is the same. But there is another case that we saw with maps, that here we init with an arena, and then each operation does not take an arena because it's already managed kind of inside of the string hash map. So even already we can see there are two ways of doing things based on the collections, and we can also have similar in our application code for better or worse. Actually, not sure about this. So in this case, interesting case as well, right? So we use this array list for intermediate values. We take those values, if we start them empty, right? And then we append those one at a time. We go and append this element to columns. And then we go through the columns and we do something else. And then columns, what happens to columns? They are cleaned up in here. However, they don't, because it's an arena. This operation does not do anything. So when this operation ends, when we are done with the parse record, it's just still there. It's there till the end of the operation. And it's quote unquote fine, which I said 300 times already, but it's not fine, right? We just used an intermediate something. We wasted some memory and we never put it back. So that's the thing. So maybe here it's not as good to have an arena, especially because we interleave a couple of things. but I want to be explicit and see now how it is. So when we go back to it, we know explicitly that we were taking shortcuts, for example. While now it's all assumes that it's all fine. And as you can see here, like all this string hash map are taking the allocator, and then the operations don't. Here we had allocator, but it needs. Here does take an allocator. Should at some point fail on the equalize side, but it doesn't. Okay, this is probably this. Okay, we still get apples and let's do one more thing. Another thing I saw is something like from string what about other way around? String to enum. And this looks like gorgeous thing that we need. It's from string to enum, and then we give this command. Arcs to. And if it doesn't work, it might not work. But let's try that. It's kind of cool. And I mean, partially seeing that it's gonna, but it has a dot. So I think we might need to do, let's try. Let's see if it compiles before we do. I don't. Yeah. But he's active. Because we have tagged you. I think it's not gonna work. I think with the enum it would work just for these things, but okay, but it's still cool, right? Like if we have something somewhere else, we know that there is string to enum and we can just. I tried. Yes, last but not least, let's do the map. ArrayHashMap. Work. Does not hurt to try. Let's do string ArrayHashMap unmanaged. And let's see where it breaks. First, it breaks here. And I think unmanaged. Value lead. I'm not sure. This isn't managed. Can we do it like this? If it's unmanaged, it means init does not take allocator. But maybe it does. Let's see. So, okay, now it expects 3 arguments because now we need to tell this what or how to allocate. Okay, now that passed, and now we're back to the tables. So in case you haven't seen the previous stuff, the idea is that we need tables in order. Map access to get stuff quicker, but we also want this ordered. I expected they have some sort of something, but there might be underline. There might be underlines. Go to tables, entries is multi-array list, 6 header pointers. Isn't it? Not sure if it iterates in the but doesn't work because this is key value probably. But let's try. The page 2.4, I think we are in point. And also nobody like managing keys is also on us. Got lucky before that it moved, nothing changed, but also we would need to copy it. Just okay, and I think we do. And I think we can also do this. Maybe we do. Right? Isn't it nicer? Can't. What? Need ensure capacity at items. Items looks promising. Gets a slice of values. Slice. Would I need own slice again? Slice? What slice? Okay. And who are our items? Okay, let's. Here that it items, but it does. Here's the type of it. Help. Can I do key pointer? This does not have key point. But what does it have? You could just tell me. So the question is, oh, okay, so it does have something. With this hash map there, we might see. So key pointer would be key. Oh, here data is hash key value. Let's try key. Boom. Awesome. How nice it is. Then and then we just have a key. Last button again. The last thing I want to clean up is this. That if we do, I'm not even this. There's no test like this. I think it's not great, and I'm pretty sure we have tests that are broken because of any of this. But we do need to know how to do the test. Running. Testing file. Test compile step. Test. Have a test that does something, and then it's not sure that's the one that, but yeah, keep this. Play with it. We have a run step. We add a test step. Test targets. Add test. Create module. Main target. Run add artifact depends on. I'm not sure. We might need to clean this up, but let's just try it. Does it just stays? Test. Unrecognized. That conflicting with. Everywhere. Because main Zeke is not found. This. Almost. Oh. Oh. Everything just failed. Nice. I think it's expected. I don't think we need any of those. Let's try to see. Try to do some this. So as targets don't need. Let's try without this. Here first. Panic. It wasn't panicking before. With a known target. What's the target? Oh, okay. So it does need a target. You can yellow. Good. And now we have errors once, which is great. Probably good, but not for us. Tests. So we have a new step, which is tests. Register this. Similar here, you have run step. This is awesome. Cool, let's fix the tests. I think this has been broken for a while because this has been taking at least an allocator, and I don't think we've been passing any for a long time. I think we'll have to reorganize them. I am here. Okay, let's just start from the top and see. No, not from the top. From here. Of this, add test one. This probably not gonna work because it wants in the but let's try parse column takes an arena and then try AO fails because it wanted arena. So let's try to it's it. And I think you have to they need this one as well. I have no idea what I'm doing here. But I think this should be cleaned up somehow by and I think this something. Let's this R. I'm not. That's just what? I think this cleanup is not right. Probably nonsense. Kind of bad. Let's try to see how people. I'm not sure. This should clean everything up in there, and then we need to test it. Yo, what if I want to copy this somewhere? And I copy it wrong? It's not. Still brushes. I think we're fine. I think let's stick to this and then a couple of episodes. We completely changed the interface. Completely changed the. Let's go back. Also, I was talking about the writers, and I've been told that with the writer I should have been able to do more, and it's more flexible interface. I don't know, the way I was approaching it was not the best. Because with writer you can pass the chunk of bytes as well if you want to. It's more flexible, but I'm not gonna refactor it back anymore. This is not. Oh, now we return the result. Result and result has record as columns. I'm gonna change. Passes. Run the rest of the tests. Cool. So I think it works. I'm a bit happier with what we have, but I want a couple more tests. So I'm kind of sick and tired of just running everything and just double checking if it works, or then failing with their test. Just meeting it and seeing if it works or not. I want to have the commands testable, but then it will require returning stuff and checking this command. If you run it, returns this, and then you test each one, and this will need to be inlined in each one. In theory, kind of better. We do wasteful stuff. We don't need to parse the whole page just to get this. Page size is here, and like this is wasteful. So it would be right to inline this, make it simpler in each case, and then not do it. But I don't want to bore everybody with another random factoring. Just do a task.